paper magic will survive like the heat death of the universe, and will...
Oh, it's a smuggler's copter. Would you like to crew this? And then it crashes because they don't understand arithmetic.
All your cards belong to me.
2 minutes into macing him in the eyeballs, I switched to pepper spray. He's like, it's all right, refreshing. And went back to the mace.
Magic is dying. I'm done. Selling everything.
I might be a hoarder. And yes,
I don't have the crayons or glue to explain this to you right now.
What, are you gonna die twice?
Oil will be worthless before magic cards will.
well, okay, Dr. Man.
That's Mr. Dr. Professor Jason. We're back once again with another very special episode of Brainstorm Brewery. I was going to do another, like, dollop-ish bit, but I couldn't think of another podcast intro to clone off of and absorb into this one through mitosis. So we're just going to go with a calm, casual, ASMR-ish, just yeah, so that's we still don't have Corbin, as you can not hear. He is resting in peace. His plane did crash into the Malaysian Islands over there. And so he was on his way back from Barcelona, and things didn't go well, and he was described as an unruly passenger in the black box. I heard a lot of screaming and milk sloshing around, and then just a bunch of static.
Said, sir, put your shirt on. 11 different times. It sounded like he put his shirt on and then took it off again.
Correct.
He actually tried different languages. They tried German. They tried Spanish. They tried Pig Latin, and he just wouldn't listen.
A video surfaced of him with his shirt off, rubbing his nipples, shouting, "Merfolk 182 at the PT! Merfolk 182 at the PT!" He unfortunately got Merfolk psychosis, and
he thought he was a
dead.
Merfolk. He jumped out of the plane into the ocean to swim and find his Merfolk brethren.
It's true. He's now sleeping with the fishes and the billionaires on the submarine.
Just enough time passed for me thinking about that submarine for it to be funny again.
I was thinking about what their ghosts are going to look like. Because everybody knows from the documentary Frighteners that if you, like, get murdered, your ghost looks like how you looked when you got murdered.
So
they got, like,
you think they're going to be really small ghosts?
Well, they got, like, vaporized, really basically, right?
Ghosts? What's that?
They were basically vaporized, so they're just trillions of tiny, like, molecule-sized ghosts.
Yeah.
So they're like the snake... Wait, they're like the manta ray from Super Mario Sunshine?
Yeah, they're like a fine mist.
This isn't strictly MTG Finance related, but look up that the diving bell disaster. It's the reason that OSHA won't let people work more than 13 hours.
The diving bell disaster.
Yeah,
is that right?
There was a pressure chamber that these people were doing, like this long dive thing. It was like a 14-hour underwater thing, and they couldn't just come straight up because they'd get nitrogen narcosis. So they
the bends.
Well, I was gonna say thank you, Cass, for the
nitrogen narcosis is when you like get all sleepy. What's the bends? The bends is called something else. Anyway, yeah, you get all kinds of problems if you surface too fast. So they were in this diving bell, and the guys were tired because they've been diving all day, so they didn't shut the airlocks in the right order, and they all exploded.
Whoa, that's not the word I expected you to use.
Pressure's a hell of a thing.
I expected died or suffocated, but you used the word exploded.
They exploded.
Yeah.
You
don't put those in the right order. You just pop like a little balloon.
Ballooning is like probably not in my top 10 ways to die. Probably not even top 20.
It is definitely not a good way to die, but it's a way to die. And speaking of ways to die, Corbin's dead, and he's not on the podcast, so we can actually talk about important magic things and not Merfolk this week because it didn't.
We talked more about Merfolk than we would have.
Than an average Corbin episode.
That's the point.
Merfolk content.
And he'll never know. Merfolk's my favorite deck. It is.
Yeah, I've actually always loved Merfolk, and Corbin will never be here for me to hear me say that.
Or are we doing confessionals now that he's dead? I love his hair. I just love like the little mop effect that bounces around when he. It's in tune with his squeak when he squeaks in the chair. Like his hair bounces. It just makes me think of a little cartoon character.
the thing I loved about Corbin, God rest his soul, is that he would just wear anything. He just didn't care what people thought about him.
Yeah, that's probably what I liked about him most. Like, the fact that he had absolutely no skill at basketball, but he made that his whole identity. That was brave.
His actual...
Takes a true warrior to call into those radio shows day after day after day and try to win concert tickets. Like,
And we
it takes
never
a true-
conclusively managed to prove that he saw Imagine Dragons. That's how well he covered his tracks. He was a careful man who covered his tracks.
He only wrecked like 2 or 3 cars in his time on this earth. If his time wasn't cut short by Merfolk Psychosis, he could have crashed 3, 4, 5, maybe even 6 more cars.
You know that old saying, like, the average person eats 7 spiders or what? Like, the average person gets, like, 2 to 3 windshields in their face, and Corbin's the outlier in that scenario. Like,
He's the reason most of us are 0 averages out to like 1.
yeah.
Right.
You know what's like a windshield crashing through, and then then debris getting hit.
This
in your face?
segue into Breaking Bulk?
No, the segue into, like, I was gonna say you're getting scammed on the road by the other driver, and then, like, Rakdos Scam is winning the Pro Tour or something.
I can talk about the Pro Tour. You could have just thrown to me and asked me about the Pro Tour.
Well,
I wanted to equate.
if
a
you'd gone,
Magic
you would have
deck
been
to a
on
car
Corbin's
crash.
flight.
I have an invisible little bucket list here that I'm going to check off. Equating a Magic deck to a car crash is now crossed off on that list. A deadly one, specifically.
I mean, I've talked about train crashes all the time. Like,
The card's
most
called Grief for a reason. I'm just connecting dots.
Well, I'm feeling a lot of fury about this bit, so let's talk about Tron and how it's never a good deck except for when the PT happens, and it's
I like
always
Tron
good.
Legacy.
You like Tron? Wait, Legacy Tron? Like the format?
No, Tron Legacy.
That's
Yeah,
called
like
Cloud
the-
Post, Jason.
Yeah, you could play Cloud Post. You could play all the other Glimmer Post. And...
Speaking of Cloud Post, actually, I think his name's Tony Murata, who's like the Legacy Cloud Post master who has an SCG Open win from like a decade ago with Cloud Post. Made the finals of the Legacy Challenge with it this weekend.
Ooh.
Kind of cool. Kind of cool. He wasn't playing any copies of the One Ring either, which is interesting.
It's good to know if you just stick with the same deck, you can top 8 twice in a decade. It's
I mean, that's more than most Legacy players will ever get in their casual format.
Oh yeah.
That's a win-loss record over 12 years that Corbin Hostler, God rest his soul, can get behind.
My best Legacy finish is top 8 of a 24-person GPT.
You know, and I'm sure that you gave those other 16 players a real run for their money.
I gave
You
them hell.
What'd you play in your 24-person Grand Prix trial, which is a very old-fashioned statement?
It was like 2012, so I think I was playing Junk.
Junk.
Like-
Ooh.
Yeah, like Vindicate in your Night of the Reliquary deck Junk.
Well, Gerard's Verdict.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gerard's Verdict, yeah. That was
None
in
of
the
those
deck.
cards are playable in 2023. Thoughtseize is barely a Legacy playable card.
That deck was crazy, though. It was a good time.
Okay, but speaking of Thoughtseize, tell us about the Modern Pro Tour cast. What happened? I was at the Renaissance Fair. I missed the entire thing. I came back from my out of service. I was in the middle of the forest. I came back to having phone service, and I opened X.com, and I saw just a million tweets about, or sorry, X's about how
Zeets.
Zeets-
No,
Zeets.
no, for real. He literally wants.
I know, I know, Jason.
Have you seen their new slogan? It's like "Blaze Your Glory" or something.
And by your glory, we mean the apartment building across the street from our headquarters, where everybody's like Kramer
that is
and
like
represented Seinfeld.
The apartment building's like rent controlled for senior citizens, by the way.
Oh,
But the Pro Tour. Let's talk about the Pro Tour.
Yeah, I
Magic's
saw a lot
back,
of
baby.
people- I saw a lot of people talking about how this was the greatest game of Magic on camera of all time. Like they were saying this is the best game of Magic they've ever seen. There was a whole what did I miss?
There was a good game in Game 4 of the finals, but the real story is that Magic's back. Kai Buddha, top 8, another PT. I had to show these kids what for. Calcano in the finals, the calculator finally getting his. That's going to happen again soon. Calcano's going to win a Pro Tour in like the next 2 or 3 years. He's got the fire back. Some kid who's in his first PT from the Virginia area just like won his first PT. Like,
what?
yeah, the guy who won the PT whose name I'm forgetting, Jake Beardsley. We got there. It was his first PT.
Oh,
Yeah,
Yeah,
I saw people talking about. I used to play with this kid's dad.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
the Pro Tour Dream was, like, on full showcase. Like, one of the greatest of all time was there. One of the true grinders was there. And someone at their first PT won. Like, could you encapsulate professional Magic any way better than that?
Didn't Jake tackle his wife on coverage? Wasn't that the story?
Yes. His girlfriend, maybe, after he made top 8, he, like, ran off stage and tackle hugged her. And she's now made that her whole Twitter identity, which, honestly, like, good for her. That's relatable.
That was awesome, yeah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, in Pokemon, somebody, like, won North American National Championships and his older brother or something rushed on stage to give him a hug, and, like, one of the judges quote-tweeted the video of it with, like, "You really shouldn't do this. It's kind of unprofessional."
Woo!
Woo!
I want to also say that Christian Kokano is such a class act. He loses in the finals of the PT and kind of just like a non-game, Game 5. Jake gets up, offers the handshake, and Kokano says, "Nah, I'm going in for the hug." They hug it out. I love tournament Magic so much, and it's all because, like, this PT is everything I ever wanted out of a PT. And I didn't even go.
Elijah Wood
And-
DJ'd the after party.
And it's
I heard he
good
was
that
bad.
It's good
Well,
that you
yeah,
didn't
it's
go
Elijah
because you
Wood.
might have suffered heat stroke or died on the same plane that Corbin was on.
That is true. Although Barcelona, if I had gotten some, like, paella in Barcelona, I wouldn't even cared.
So, we talked about Scam, we talked about Traw. I'm looking at the Frank Karsten, like, big graph of decks, as they call it. He's gonna have to reach out to me to trademark that and get the trademark back. But, there's 5-color Reanimator, there is Urza Thopter. These are decks I have not heard of, and that's saying something. 5-color Reanimator, Urza Thopter Sword, Demir Mill is hanging in there.
That's just a deck that could randomly just, like, completely smash you if you're not ready for it. You go crack a fetch, they, like, double archive trap you, and you're like, alright, that's game 1.
So this graph that Karsten put up, that I'm sure we're going to have in the show notes, it tells kind of part of the story, but also not, because, it says, like, Merfolk had an 80% win rate, but there was one player playing it, right? And Scam... Rakdos Evoke. Where was that on here again? It was it had a 54% win rate, but it had like
Right, there's
20% of the field.
Yeah.
For me, the real takeaway from this event is, rogue decks can still exist in Modern. They're just fine, but also the kind of person who's going to qualify for the PT playing like a more off-brand deck is not going to do well in draft. That's like being a high-level competitive Magic player. You also have to be good enough at draft. Like. I mean, how many of the top 8 players had mediocre Modern records but good draft records? I think like at least half of them. And so like the top 8 doesn't tell the whole story, but it does tell the story of great Magic players, which, Corbin, while he was still alive doing his job, was great for him. He got to do a lot of narrative driving.
I'm looking. Who brought Oops All Spells to the Modern Pro Tour? I mean, I can't judge super hard because I didn't qualify for the Modern Pro Tour, but like. Oops All Spells.
I mean, Oops All Spells kind of is
fun to play.
It's also pretty good in like the non-interactive matchups because you're pretty fast and like pretty consistent. Okay. I also actually imagine you're pretty good against like the counterspell based decks because you're so redundant. Sure. The one that really was surprising to me was I expected to see more Amulet Titan. I think it's like quite good. And obviously we saw one in the top 8 in the hands of Dom Harvey. But I think that deck might... It's weird to say this about a Pro Tour, but it might just have like too much of a skill ceiling to like be worth it for the average person going to the Pro Tour to test for it.
It was too hard to play when you had Summer Bloom.
Yeah, and it's like I don't doubt that the best players in the world could figure it out. It's just like they would rather invest their time in making sure they 6-0 draft and then like also playing the next best thing.
You're just sacrificing opportunity cost. You could spend 60 hours to be the best Amulet Titan player in the room, or you could just be a jack of all trades.
And Dom Harvey has spent the last 4 or 5 years playing nothing but Amulet Titan, so like he already had that.
Right.
Yeah.
Get your reps in.
I mean, you're going to the Pro Tour. It's like you want to put your best foot forward.
Right.
You play something you're very comfortable with, and that's legit.
Yeah. If I were to play a Modern tournament tomorrow for stakes, I would play Temur Rhinos. I think that the Kaibuta list with Questing Beast and Subtleties, I think there was 4 Subtleties, maybe it was only 3, but I'm really into that list. Lorien Revealed makes so that you get to play a lower land count and have enough blue cards for all of your pitch spells. And every once in a while you do pay 5 mana to draw 3 cards, although you don't love doing that.
It's crazy that, like, that something like that, you look at that, people are like, why the hell is this going up? It's like, well, it turns out it's... EDH players are like, I would never play this. It's so funny to me.
It's the best blue cantrip in Modern right now.
Yeah.
Like, doesn't draw a card, so Bowmasters doesn't get you.
Sure.
There was a lot of talk of Modern ban list today, by the way, because there's a ban list coming on Monday of next week.
Yes.
And someone pointed out, like, is it even a problem anymore if looting's in the format? Like, is Phoenix playable against a Bowmasters?
Oh, God, yeah.
Like, is Splinter Twin even a problem anymore with Solitude and Force of Negation and all of these other really powerful tools? Like, who's to say? So I'm of the opinion that I want unbans, not bans.
Oh, yeah. I love the who let the dogs out moment of just... Here's the format, go do a thing. And that is some of the most exciting screenshots, the most interesting 5-0 record things when you start seeing, like, oh, wait, this card from 15 years ago that nobody's touched works with this thing from Lord of the Rings. Oh, God, and there's all these... It's like a whole new set is released when you unban one card.
And there's actually precedent from the last Modern Pro Tour. About 1 month after the last Modern Pro Tour in 2019, Stoneforge Mystic got unbanned. So maybe we'll see a little shake-up. I think if they don't unban something, it's going to be a pretty boring RCQ season, which we're about to go into. So I fingers crossed we're going to get something off the list.
So what's your top 3? What are your top 3? What are your wants and expectations, I guess, is the best way to define that.
So I think I want to give something to green creature strategies, because they're like kind of a fan favorite. I think I'm going to give them Green Sun Zenith over Birthing Pod. I think Birthing Pod just like is too dangerous.
I agree. As a Birthing Pod stan for several years, I cannot imagine a format where that is legal with Renegade Rallier and the litany of things they've printed.
I also think Green Zenith might be an issue. Like, it might just be too much, but I'm going to be wrong on that one. I think Splinter Twin's totally fine. I'll offer that hot take. Splinter Twin's totally fine. That card can be unbanned. You know, if someone wants to, like, put it in their One Ring deck and, like, also Deceiver, Exarch, untap my One Ring, draw extra cards, like, let them do it. You know?
Sure.
Let them have it. And then my third one, God, I don't know. I haven't thought about it that hard. Give us Umezawa's Jite. It's probably toxic as hell, but, like, you know, people love it.
It uses the combat step.
What's it going to keep people off of? Like, what creature are people playing in Modern that, like, Jite threatens?
That card
Bowmasters?
uses...
Like...
Can you imagine putting a Jite on your Bowmasters? Like...
Yeah, I as soon as I read Bowmasters, every card I open, I imagine putting a Jite on it. Because I won a game by putting a Jite on a Birds of Paradise and hitting a guy who was playing Ensnaring Bridge.
It's kind of hot.
Yep. Swing for 0, pop him for 4, put 2 more counters on it.
I mean, that gets the job done.
Fuck your bridge, bud.
Sure. Gets there.
I did my customary Modern ban list is coming up. Buy 4 HP Splinter Twins off TCG Player.
Yep.
And then I'm sure I'll just throw them into a buy list box and sell to somebody in, like, 6 months when I don't get unbanned. I'll do it again next year.
And the funny thing is, you could do that for 10 years, and then the one time it wins, you're still up on that decade.
Probably,
like,
yeah.
You lose $2 on them every 2 years, and then you make 30, and you're fine.
You invented a savings account.
I mean, yeah, but, like, it's also like when you buy a lottery ticket, it's about, you get to think about what happens. Like, if I buy the Splinter Twins, I get to spend, like, 4 minutes thinking about how fun it's going to be to play with Splinter Twin again. It's never going to happen. But, like, I would pay $4 to $8 for that experience. I'd pay more for worse.
You're buying memories, right? That's all.
Yeah, like I bought booster packs of Magic the Gathering recently. Like, I could do a lot worse.
Yes. I mean, Umezawa's Jite uses the combat step. How good can it be, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Famous last words.
I did see somebody on Twitter today say that they think Skull Clamp would be fine, which, like, okay, man.
Was that person alive when Skull Clamp was printed?
Yes, but, like, Who's
Not
to say if they were
really.
like fully there yet? You know?
Yeah,
Were
they-
they sitting in their diapers?
They didn't have object permanence.
Yeah.
Neither did elves players back then. It's like, I'm a Llanowar elf. Cool, put this on. It looks sharp. See, you're smarter already. I learned 2 new things.
As somebody who just like thinks every day, what if I just got a lobotomy? Wouldn't that make life easier? I can relate to that Llanowar elf.
I don't trust my wife to always wipe me.
It's a skill issue. Get a better wife.
I trust her to usually wipe me. However, I'm not risking.
But you'll be lobotomized. Who cares?
So
I'll put the bottom back in lobotomized, and I'll think about my butthole all the time.
All right.
I
This
mean,
is
if
the
they
Magic
can-
Finance Podcast.
if the Kennedys get it, how bad can it be?
Gotta say, this
Kennedy's,
shirt I'm
as
wearing,
in JFK, technically got a lobotomy too.
Kennedy's nuts.
Kennedy's.
You know what's great about this shirt that I'm wearing is the collar. I can tug on it super easily when someone says something uncomfortable. It's like, it's the perfect material and shape, and it's actually produced by the sponsor of this podcast, Coalesce Apparel and Design. If you go to coalesceapparelanddesign.shop/Brainstorm Brewery and use code Brainstorm Brewery at checkout, you can
this picture of KS.
or this one of
Yeah.
an owl for Ristic
better
Studies for
podcast.
Magic Man Sam. Well, it's not a podcast.
Isn't it?
He's a video essayist.
What is a
documentarian?
one-person podcast?
It's
What is
a graphic
one-person
novel,
podcast?
not a get out of here. It's a podcast.
But for real, go to Coalesce Apparel. You can get a shirt. You get a booster pack with it. You can do the free money glitch DJ loves to talk about.
10% gift code scales infinitely, and
Yeah.
it stacks with a clearance discount. So if you don't want to get, if you already have the Ristic Study shirt, if you already have the Brainstorm one, you can just get other stuff, fill out your wardrobe
EDH
with a bunch of
Rec
different colors.
stuff.
You don't want to look like a cartoon character who opens up their wardrobe and shows every single thing is the same. You don't want to be that person. What?
Wait, that's
How is
me.
that one bad?
I was just demonstrating what the shirts are good for again. Also,
Okay.
my wardrobe looks like that. It's just like 50 black t-shirts.
I have 25 Adidas tracksuits in my closet.
Yeah.
He thinks
I
I'm
own-
joking, but he's gonna see my closet Thursday. So
I own 10 of this flannel in slightly different colors.
Are they slightly maroon or are they slightly darker maroon?
They go from like a white one that's kind of pinkish now because it's been washed with the maroon ones to like a like normal red and black like lumberjack style flannel. And there's everything in between there.
Love that. I also love
on the spectrum, how lumberjilly are you?
I'm at the
I'm
end of the
somewhere
spectrum.
between pink flannel and red flannel.
Jason, I'm at the end of the spectrum. I'm the final boss of the spectrum. Like, there's an ice wall at the end of my spectrum. I'm the flat Earth of the spectrum.
Breaking bulk time. Breaking bulk time. Break.
Oh, yeah, breaking bulk. There's so much good stuff.
It's a pick. Breaking bulk. The end.
This is a Weatherlight common with no reprints.
Blue Weatherlight Common? That could be anything.
It could even be abjure.
It is abjure. That was very good of you. Did I accidentally flash that on my camera? No? Okay.
No, I'm just good at this game.
Yeah, that's a card that I feel like only Jason would know. Like,
Yeah.
it's very in his wheelhouse.
Tell us what abjure does, Jason.
Oh, I don't know. I have no idea.
I also
what that
don't know.
card Does. I just knew
It
the
is-
name of. I knew the name of a blue common from Weatherlight.
Sure.
I kind of know what the art is like, and so like I know the vibe of the card, and it felt like a Jason vibe card. It felt like a card that has a high synergy rating on EDH Rec.
I don't think it's great. It is a 1 blue instant. Interrupt. It is a 1 blue interrupt. Sacrifice a blue permanent to counter target spell.
The card's kind of great, actually, right? Like,
We shouldn't have to sack a blue permanent.
yeah.
Maybe hatching plans is a blue permanent.
That is I love hatching plans so much. I love that card. The flavor text for those folks at home. Miri's hackles rose as Airtie continued expounding his virtues. If that arrogant brat doesn't shut up soon, she growled to herself, I'm going to have to kill him. So whatever that means. I mean, I don't
That's
know.
actually an excerpt from Gavin Verhey's AO3 account. I have a Midnight Hunt Black Uncommon.
Oh, is it the
Is it the murder that you lose to life? Infernal something?
What was your guess, Jason?
the Skullport Merchant?
No, DJ had it. It was the Infernal Grasp.
Oh.
Card is over $1 on CK Buy List.
CK Buy List?
Yeah. Card is under that on TCG right now, but no one opened Midnight Hunt. No one cared about that set, and this card is playable enough in Pioneer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very good kill spell. One of the best ever.
I'm surprised this doesn't have a random ancillary reprint yet.
The list.
I
or
clicked
something,
on this
yeah.
on MTGstocks expecting to see it on like a commander deck or
No,
the
nothing.
list or... I mean, it has all of its random reprintings, but they're all from Midnight Hunt too. It's double
Right.
feature, the promo pack, the weird Japanese promo, and then the base set. So like, it does not have any real reprints, which is very surprising for a card that's 2 years old.
It's also the kind of card that someone buys it, puts it in their Pioneer deck or like their Pioneer collection, and then doesn't think about it being worth anything, so they don't sell it. So if you're the kind of person who gets bulk, pull them out of bulk, throw them on your buy list order, make a little money.
Yes. Great card.
Oh yeah.
What you got, Jason?
DJ and I colluded.
Oh no.
We both picked a blue instant. But mine is from Time Spiral, and it's not from Time Spiral Remastered.
Just
spinning?
Time Spiral.
Yeah! Clock Spinning
Oh.
was not Time Spiral Remastered. It's probably going to be in the Doctor Who precons, but you should still pull them now. They're about to start selling for real.
I love clock spinning.
The same succinct 3-word sentence. And there's a
It's
good
great.
reason for that. The card's great.
It's, for me, clock spinning and, what's the Scry 3 buyback card?
Mystic Speculation.
Yeah, that's like, those are some of my favorite cards from that set.
Clock Spinning was one of the OG Manipulate a Planeswalker cards.
Yeah.
Remember I had
Joara
a,
the Gitu.
How does this
I
have
had
no
a-
reprintings?
How does Clock Spinning not have any reprints?
Yeah, well, it's time counters are weird, and it references time counters specifically, right?
Yeah.
It says
No,
choose
a counter on target
on a-
permanent or suspended card.
Well, it says suspended, which is
A
keyword
counter on
mechanic.
target permanent, though.
Right, but they can't just put it in any reprint set unless it has suspend cards because it says suspended card.
You'd think so, but like the way they do the precons, they just throw shit in there.
Sure.
Like we used to think that was a rule, but like there are no rules.
I distinctly remember I was super excited. I paid like $8 for a Japanese foil of this card at Grand Prix Kansas City in like 2013 or something for my Joyra deck back when she was like the big bad. Like back when her, Azusa, and Azami were like the 3 big bad commander decks.
Yep.
Man, what a time that
Up
was.
there.
Earl was like also a villain for sure. And then there was who was the mono black one that everyone was crazy about? I think it might have been Geth.
No.
Yeah.
It wasn't Geth.
Geth again.
Oh,
Was it-
Braids. Was it Braids?
No, I don't think it was. I think it was Maga Trader to Mortals or something. It was like the Coffers
The X
commander at the
spell?
time. Yeah, it was like the way you killed with Coffers.
Yeah. Maga Traded Immortals, yeah.
Yeah. What a simple time that was.
The
You
list
bust
of
out a
mono
Rafik
black...
deck and everyone's like, oh boy, here comes the Spike with his Rafik deck.
Playing Sword of Body and Mind in your deck to like really get them.
The list of mono black commanders now is just... There's so many things on here that do all of the things.
Morin Finn, Gallow Braid, those both have lots of...
You just made up words.
No, Morin Finn
think-
and Gallow Braid were both from Weatherlight.
My first ever commander deck was actually Season, the Perverter of Truth.
Nice.
Big fan of that one. Love a good
extra
Underworld
cards.
Dreams. Yeah,
My first EDH deck was Mael,
it's a classic.
and then Maelstrom Wander, I think, on the same day.
My second one
just-
was Horde of Notions, which is like a real left turn from Season.
Oh yeah. I don't know. I just
was-
really wanted to trade with EDH players, and eventually they just traded me a whole deck.
What was yours, DJ? Your first ever EDH deck?
First was Reese the Redeemed, but I could never finish it because I could not afford a doubling season at the time.
Boo this man!
I would have thought that your first one would have been the green-black chick you like.
Savra was
Glissa?
the first. Savra was second, then Glissa was third.
Yeah. Glissa. I played Glissa like against tokens. You would just pop the Ratchet Bomb for 0. That was fun.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love... There was someone who once, this is years and years ago, would play at my shop who had, like, a blinged out Glissa deck, and that was, like, the only thing he did in Magic, was he just showed up to play his Glissa deck. He owned no cards that weren't in it. And, like, I wish I could be that guy. I wish I could live a life that simple. Just, like, I want to show up, and I want to spend my entire, day's pay to buy a masterpiece engineered explosives because it's the coolest thing possible for my deck. Put it in, and then, like, get super excited when I draw it. Like that was his whole thing he wanted to do. But no, I have to like have ADHD and bounce between things constantly. I can't enjoy one thing in life.
That's your cross to bear.
It is. No
I
one
used to
else
like
is like
Magic.
me. I'm so unique.
Pick me.
Pick me.
So, speaking of bouncing around between things,
Oh,
I don't know
that's a
where
really good
about that-
segue, and I
that's-
hate that.
Mark Rosewater and Gavin Verhey at Barcelona discussed the R&D philosophy for Planeswalkers going forward, so we are bouncing around on a different design philosophy now. Mark Rosewater confirms the general intent is to have a single Planeswalker per set. So we're used to like anywhere from 2 to 4, I guess, is the general average. And after March of the Machine, there was the Aftermath set that was definitely a real set and not just 50 cards tossed into something at the last second. And one of the lore impacts from that was that there was a great desparking. A bunch of Planeswalkers lost their spark, and we don't know how or why or when they will get it back.
It's the Great Aurora 2.
Basically, yeah. And, I mean, you can pretty easily read between the lines from this and infer, Wizards just wants to make more legendary creatures, and you're probably not wrong. But we have a big drop in Planeswalker quantity, which is a stark
Finally.
departure from
Like,
where we were the past 20
Remember,
years.
we were like, anytime a Planeswalker is under $7, you should pick it up. And now it's like, yeah, this is the Chase Mythic Planeswalker of the set, and it'll be probably $2.
Well,
I
a
really
lot of
feel
that
like-
was them learning how to make the card type.
They kind of also run thin on design space for Planeswalkers when they produce so many.
Yeah.
Every time they make a new one that's like very unique and cool, it is very unique and cool, but so many of them are very samey.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's the famous example, there's a Huatli and it's either a Garuk or a Nissa or something. JJ will put it on the screen and then correct me because he'll put it like a big dunce hat on my character.
Little
There's
clown
like
nose.
There's a Huatli, a red white Huatli and a green Planeswalker, and they're both like the intro deck one, but they have identical abilities.
Yeah.
It's like a
three?
6
Well,
mana, 6 mana, +1 make a 3/3. They both do the exact same thing.
There was also like the meme for a while there that every Planeswalker was just Ob Nixilis reignited. They were just all a 5-mana walker that plus to draw a card, -3 to kill a creature, and then like -8 to do something powerful enough to win the game eventually.
Yep.
There were like 5 of them in a 5-year stretch or something.
But I mean,
mean-
there's what is this? Ashiok Wicked Manipulator is the one from Wilds of Eldraine. It has a lot of text on it. Like the set symbol for what Wilds of Eldraine is a book, and for good
Ashiok
reason.
is an Eldraine?
Yes.
That makes sense, right? They're kind of doing like a nightmare thing now because it's like the, nightmares and like
Nightmares are
fair-
intertwined with fairy tales pretty well.
yeah. Brothers Grimm loved a good nightmare.
Yeah. 5 mana, 5 loyalty, and then there's a whole lot of text. If you would pay life while your library has at least that many cards in it, exile that many cards from the top of your library instead. +1, look at the top 2 cards of your library, exile one of them, put the other one into your hand. -2, create 2 1/1 black nightmare creature tokens with, quote, at the beginning of combat on your turn, if a card was put into exile this turn, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. -7, target player exiles the top X cards of their library, where X is the total mana value of cards you own in exile. Good lord.
So on the one hand, this card has a lot of text and doesn't really do that much. On the other hand, we're getting a card called Tough Cookie that's like a grumpy gingerbread man with a candy cane sword, and I'm pretty jazzed about that. So who's to say what's good or bad?
I love Tough Cookie.
I am? That's bad.
That's good. The best thing about Eldraine was the trailer, because everyone just wants to watch Shrek 2.
Yeah. And plus Ginger Brew was a legit card.
Yeah. Like, if this set is just, like, has the maximum amount of Shrek 2 vibes, I'm for it. Like, Shrek 2 was a banger. All-time great movie.
I was hoping for, Fables, but yeah, sure, Shrek 2.
We have,
We talked about Shrek 2 last week, didn't we?
we talk about Shrek 2 every time Corbin's not here.
You try to bring it up a lot.
I love Shrek 2. Have you watched it recently? It's so good.
Yeah.
I have children, so yeah. I may have seen some Shreks.
But we have Wilds, we have Doctor Who, we have so many sets coming out. Doctor Who is definitely a thing that is happening in Magic, and it's gonna bring more people in.
So,
Wonder how many people are leaving.
well, I know at least one. I will say this about Doctor Who, for everything about it that I completely hate, which is a lot. There is one card that just has, like, such a nice design that if it wasn't on a Doctor Who skin, I'd be, like, crazy about it as, like, a...
I think we're talking about the same card.
Is it the Foretold Soldier?
The River... No, we're not talking about the same card.
Oh.
Apparently it's a character from an episode called Mummy on the Orient Express, which is apparently one of the better episodes, people told me. But it's a green, and 2 colorless for a 6/6 creature, alien zombie soldier. It must be blocked if able, and it can't be blocked by more than one creature. Whenever it deals damage, exile it face down, it becomes Foretold, then you can foretell it for 1 and a green.
That's very
So every
clever.
turn you turn it face up, and it, like, kills a guy, like, fights one guy, and then it goes away. And then it comes back, and it does it again. From what I understand, flavorfully it's very good, but also just, like, a creature that is a kill spell in this way is like a very elegant way to do fighting, in my opinion.
And they get to
It's not
pick
very
who
green to,
gets
like,
sent out
ambush
to-
somebody like that, though. Well, I guess ambushing is very, very green. I don't know.
I was gonna say River Song for my very cleverly designed card. 1 and an Is It for a 2/2. You draw cards from the bottom of your library rather than the top. Whenever an opponent scries, surveils, or searches their library, put a +1/+1 counter on it. Then it deals damage to that player equal to its power.
Yeah, I mean, I do like, drawing cards from the bottom of your deck. Wasn't there a Yu-Gi-Oh card that just, like, turned your deck upside down? And you
Yeah,
just,
there
like,
is! Convulsion of Nature, baby!
Yeah, that's way cooler to me. Just, like, I draw my cards, face up.
And you want to know
That's
what else about it? It causes a litany of nightmare rules violations because you have to correctly pick up the card without moving any other card or seeing any other card beneath it.
Oh, cool.
It's a nightmare.
I love that kind of stuff exists. Actually, a good card like that. I believe it was the 2019 Pokemon World Championships. An unplayable card was banned for the tournament. It's called Blaine's Quiz Show. When you play it, you name an attack, like a Pokemon attack, and your opponent guesses which Pokemon in your hand has that, and if they guess wrong, you draw 4. If they guess right, they draw 4. But because the World Championship is an international tournament and there are players from all over the world, the language barrier was going to be an issue, so they just, like, had to ban it for Worlds just in case someone showed up with it. Because, like, if I say, to a player who speaks no English, I'm like, yeah, I got a swim freely guy in my hand, and they're like, swim freely? I love when game designers pretend that their cards don't exist in the real world.
I'm getting a lot of Borborygmos vibes from this, or a lot of Humpus Wumpus.
Humpus Wumpus, baby.
On the one hand, the Pro Tour's back. On the other hand, so's Doctor Who.
Who's to say what can be good or bad?
Yeah.
I'm not leaving. I'll be replaced by somebody who looks completely different.
Oh, we're gonna replace you with an AI bot.
Can we get a VTuber? What if Jason leaves and then just becomes a VTuber on the podcast?
That'd be cool.
We'll get him like a Genshin Impact voice.
Yeah. We'll get him just like the...
I'm a Hades 2 speedrunner now.
The perfectly amount of spiky hair, like a Yu-Gi-Oh character.
Your move.
So, this weekend, I was at the shop, and I was playing a game of Commander.
That sounds really boring. I think what we should talk about, actually, instead, is MTGstocks, one of the sponsors of this podcast. See, I'm reacting to your facial reactions. If you're not on YouTube, you don't see, like... We was like, let's do a bit where you interrupt me, because I'm a woman, because you do that a lot. And it was a funny bit. And then I didn't know how to continue my story. I work at MTGstocks, everybody. Hey, take a bow, Cass. Everybody, this was Cass doing the bit. She played the character of Girl Interrupted.
I played the straight man for once.
I had been going to EDH Rec and seeing the prices of TCG Player and Card Kingdom cards next to each other for years. And sometimes Card Kingdom is charging less money than TCG Player. And my eye always catches that, because that's not right. Why would Card Kingdom be cheaper than TCG Player? Couple reasons. Card Kingdom sold out, or it's like currently spiking on TCG Player, or there's an arbitrage opportunity. And it's never anything super worthless. There's always something interesting going on, even if it's just, the card sold out. So we launched the tool this week that this podcast came out. It's for premium people. So if you have a premium account at MTGstocks, you go to the tools, the analytics drop down, and it's called Card Kingdom Cheaper. We just wanted to get the app out there and see if it did anything. And I wrote an article about it this week. I found a couple through 3 minutes of playing with this thing. I found a couple opportunities. So one of them is going to be my pick of the week. And my other pick of the week is, hey, you should head to MTGstocks, read my articles, read all the other articles. We got some fantastic writers there. And everybody's better than me at writing. It's weird. And then you also have tools that I asked Arjun very nicely to try. And I wasn't sure if it would work or not, but it turns out we found some interesting cards. Rather than just going through EDH Rec and hoping something caught my eye, we actually just automated it with a process. So anytime Card Kingdom is cheaper than TCG Player, it flags it and puts it on that list, and it's a very interesting list of cards to look through. There are lots of different reasons why those prices will be like that, and once you understand what all of those are, I think you will find potential buying opportunities the way I did. So if you have feature ideas for MTGstocks, I'm a good person to talk to about that, and you can contact me through this podcast or at my Twitter. So that's a thing. There will be more things in the future. If this tool is good, we'll refine it, and if it's bad, we'll make a new one. So if you have any feature requests for MTGstocks, let me know. I will make sure they get to the right person.
I will say, the best thing about doing this podcast week over week is getting to spend time with my friends producing wonderful content about a game I love. The second best thing is I get alerted to new MTGstocks features the moment they're up, because Jason can't stop talking about them, which, honestly is super convenient. Probably would have taken me at least 3 more weeks to find that feature if I wasn't listening to this podcast, which means we're doing God's work, MTGstocks, just so you know. We're good to sponsor, so keep that up.
Keep paying us.
Keep paying us, please.
I'm double dipping.
I think the main thing I use the premium side for is just to find out when Card Kingdom's buy list changes.
That is super helpful. Yeah.
And you can adjust the percentages or flat values to filter out the noise, because you don't really care that much about, did a 59-cent buy list change to a 69-cent buy list? No, you want to see, did this card that they were previously out of stock on, did they jump the buy list from 3 to 5 or from 3 to 7 or something like that? And you can add all those filters to get rid of all the noise and just find the cards that changed in price over the past week that now you want to sell.
Yeah.
You can set those parameters yourself. You can filter out reserved list cards. You can adjust the percentages. Do I care about it? Did this change in percentage? Did this change by a flat dollar amount? You do have all the ability to filter out all that data.
So if you're not like a hardcore finance person and your eyes are glazing over right now because it sounds like you'll never use this, this is actually more for people who don't consider themselves hardcore finance people. You will have some of this stuff that's like, oh wow, the buy list is $1 more than it was when I bought this, and I used it in standard 3 years ago and don't need it. Ooh, let me go yank those out. And then you trade them into Card Kingdom, who is very generous with their trading, and then all of a sudden you got enough for a new EDH deck, just getting rid of some like $3 cards. So if you're not a serious finance person, I think MTGstocks makes even more sense because you're not a smarty pants who loves to just stare at graphs and figure shit out. You're somebody who wants to pay a nerd to do their analytics for them and spit out a list of cards to go buy. So if you're a busy person and you want to basically go infinite by buy listing at the right time and trading in at the right time, MTGstocks is a site that does a lot of that guesswork for you.
So my whole like ethos around buying and selling Magic cards is there's like a 3-step system. The first step is figure out how to manage your physical inventory. The second step is learn how to use data and tools to get the correct information. And the third thing is to act on that information. I think a lot of people pretty good at the first one because the first one's not necessarily that hard unless you're operating in big scales. But like figuring out how to find and then make data grokkable is so difficult, and Stocks does that really well. But also with any tool, just like practicing with it and using it more and more will help you get better with it. And that's just like generic Magic finance tip is even if you're not necessarily actively doing something with your tools, if you have a few minutes, just kind of fiddle around with them and like learn how the data is presented and what it draws from, and kind of ask yourself and ask other people, why is this the way it is? Because like you said, it's not always apparent why a card went up in price on Card Kingdom's buy list, but if you can kind of reverse engineer it, you can actually you can apply that to 100 different scenarios instead of just the one that you're looking at.
So anyway, basic lands.
Basic lands? Are we playing a basic land game?
Yeah.
Okay.
I have a list of the Pro Tour top 8 people and their basic land choices.
So I have thoughts on this.
Yeah?
I've seen this little infographic already. It's a great infographic. Coverage, do more of this. Shout out to Corbin. Rest in peace. There are only 2 people on this list who are correct in God's eyes. Everyone else is a sinner and will not see the gates of heaven. They are Christian Calcano with that nice Euro forest, I believe. Classy forest, nonetheless. And 2 is Kai Buddha with the draft basics from the PT he's at. Everyone else missed me with it. OG Zendikar is like okay from Dom Harvey. This Theros Beyond Death shit, like what are we doing with our lives? Like what?
Ooh,
what
I like those in a deck with lots of enchantments.
But like Rakdos Evoke, Rakdos Scam, like tapping a Theros Beyond Death Swamp and a Blood Crypt to play an Orcish Bowmasters is like that's like taking a runny dump on the Mona Lisa. No offense to Jake
hard.
Beardsley, Pro Tour champion.
It would be tough.
I was going to advocate for the
in
Mercadian
a
Masks
display
basics.
case.
Those are fine. And I have nothing against Theros Beyond Death basics. I'm just being a messy who loves drama. But
But
man, I do really respect the just like I grabbed them from the draft bin at the PT Kai Buddha choice.
Nobody here mismatched their basics.
You'd think one of the Tron sickos would have.
Maybe
I
they
with
did.
Mismatch Tron. That's how much
I
of
saw
a
some-
sicko I was.
I did see some mismatched Tron on coverage over the weekend, and I gotta say, not with it.
I played Japanese black border, Italian black border, English white border, Japanese white border. One of each.
When I played Tron forever ago, I played with the Korean 5th edition white border ones, and they looked so fucking clean.
Ooh.
Yeah.
The metagame for making people miserable while you blood moon them has evolved so much over the past few years. I think the current top 4 is 1 the Dark, 1 the Amonkhet Masterpiece, 1 the Secret Lair Mischief Etched one, and then 1 like a regular Modern Masters one. Maybe 8th edition is place of that one.
I'm a big fan of the 4 copies of Modern Masters 1 Blood Moon with a shuffle crease that goes all the way down, because that's what I have.
I have a Chronicles Blood Moon that is miscut on the back but not the front.
Ooh, that's actually kind of hot. You should sell me that.
It's worth like not because nobody wants a back miscut.
Yeah, you should sell me that. I think it's cool.
Okay, maybe I will.
Yeah.
I want it to go to a good home.
Wheeling and dealing on the podcast. Look at this. This is commerce in action. It's impossible to not make money on this podcast.
This is called networking. I just made a sale because of my network. Think of
and your net worth
sales
is
you
your
can
net
make.
worth.
You beat me to that. I was gonna do that.
Why don't you join our Discord for patrons and you could network some more with like-minded sickos like you that like this podcast more than they like their family respecting their choices.
Who likes that, really? Nobody likes that.
You could listen to one episode of Brainstorm Brewery, or you could watch a 50-minute video on YouTube about a guy who went to every Margaritaville in the country in 30 days.
Mm-hmm. Because the YouTube algorithm put that in everybody's feed.
Yeah, it was really good also. I watched almost all of his videos now. He's very entertaining.
He looked really sad, though.
He was very sad. If you watch the video, there's another one from the perspective of his friend who had a much better time.
Wasn't wasting away again in Margaritaville?
Well, so his friend was sad during the Margaritaville one, but apparently the year before he did the Rainforest Cafes in the US in 21 days. And his friend Ted was like super into Rainforest Cafe for some reason, had the time of his life.
That's so much travel, though, isn't it?
But yeah, but they did 18 Rainforest Cafes in 21 days, and then 22 Margaritavilles in 28 days.
There
a year
were
apart.
only 18 Rainforest Cafes in the country?
That's
in the US and Canada. They went to the one on the Canada side of Niagara for both the Margaritaville and the Rainforest Cafe.
I ate at a Rainforest Cafe in London, and it was even worse than an American Rainforest Cafe, if you can believe that.
I ate at one at GP Niagara Falls in 2019, and it was maybe one of the worst dining experiences I've had in my adult life. And keep in mind, that same weekend I also ate at a TGI Fridays.
Rainforest Cafe is just a TGI Fridays with a very expensive gift shop they make your kids walk through.
Also, a
So,
thunderstorm
Cracker Barrel?
booms.
Yeah.
And at Rainforest Cafe, every 20 minutes, like exactly, there's a thunderstorm that starts and goes for like 30 seconds, and it's very loud. And if you're in certain parts of the restaurants, you're right under the speaker, and it will just like deafen you. It's awesome.
That's where they, if people are rude making a reservation, they give them the speaker table.
Exactly.
Every 96 seconds, a howler monkey shrieks, and a lady drops her fork and yells, "God damn it!" by the third time.
If I were in the business of choosing a restaurant to eat at, I would not pick Rainforest Cafe, but I would pick my pick of the week.
Brainstorm Brewery is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in below-the-waist grooming. Their products are precision-engineered tools for the family jewels. The Performance Package is the ultimate hygiene bundle. Join over 8 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. We have 20% and free worldwide shipping if you use the code BSB. You'll get the Performance Package 4.0. It's really a game changer. Inside the package, you'll find the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer, the Weed Whacker ear and nose hair trimmer, the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver, as well as in a gift of performance boxer briefs and a travel bag. This is everything you need if you are traveling and want to take care of yourself just a little bit better than maybe you have in the past. Manscaped has all of the tools for you. Join over 8 million people worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. We have 20% and free worldwide shipping if you use the code BSB.
Pick of the week, pick of the week, pick of the week. Time for the pick of the week.
Oh my god, I was waiting for 5 minutes for one of you to make a reference that I
We
could
were
say.
trying to get out of that segment, but we were trapped.
I was waiting for somebody to say something that I could segue into, like, theology, so I could say something going to hell. My pick of the week is Punishing Fire.
Your pick of the week is actually Punishing Fire?
Yes. I love banned cards. I love just buying bricks of banned cards and waiting, as we talked about earlier. Punishing Fire being probably one of, if not the cheapest buy-in on the modern ban list. You could just buy a full 400 count box of them and just pray to God.
Oh, you're about to get a 400 count box of them, DJ.
Oh boy.
So the pick of the week is not for DJ anymore, but it's for everyone else.
Everyone else.
And
this was my pick of the week 10 years ago.
Yeah, if it spikes, you list them on TCG for $1.99, and you just watch the fireworks go. And then with any that you have left over, you just buy list them out, and you'll be very happy. And I think that the buy-in is so low that it's a matter of time, like we're talking about.
If you're the kind of person who's into buying Punishing Fires, but you want to go a little harder, do you spec on Grove of the Brimwillows? Because if Punishing Fire gets unbanned, Grove of the Brimwillows definitely goes up, and you can get Expedition copies for like $4 or $5.
What?
Yeah. You can get the Iconic Masters
ugly,
ones
though.
for like $4.
Whew.
Probably also, yeah. I mean, I can see it. It has been a while since the
That
reprint.
is that historically cheap for Grove?
Yes.
I don't know, so I'm
Yeah.
going to MTGstocks.com.
I mean, it has like 2 pretty reasonably sized reprints, and the card has basically no demand.
Yeah.
Like, it sees playing casual Commander decks, and like the occasional Legacy Sicko buys a playset, but the Legacy Sicko is only buying Future Sight copies.
It used to be the Tron thing to do back when
Yep.
you played red in Tron and you didn't care about your opponent's life total, and then they moved on to mono colors and just sort of extinguished the fire that was this card.
The real thing is that Pyroclasm wasn't good anymore, right? It wasn't enough to deal with the aggro decks.
Yeah, it was that in Kozilek's Return, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And also, like, Grove of the Brimwillows was like $70 for like a couple months there, like almost, I guess, 2 or 3 years. But that was because it had no supply because it was in Future Sight. Iconic Masters was a real supply injection, so I think this card will never get that high again, but
Correct.
if you're into
And-
Punishing Fire and you want to spend more money, Grove of the Brimwillows is not that bad of a place to go.
Get your
Yes.
playset at least.
And
Yeah.
And I am not suggesting in any way that the cards that would get unbanned would have an actual shake-up effect. I think if they were unbanned, it is because that Wizards has done enough diligence to understand that they are not going to break the metagame immediately. So that would definitely be something you would want to get out of quickly. It is not like a get your place set and then keep hodling. It is just wait for the number to go up and then cash out, wash your hands, move on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I actually am in rare form this week, and I have a Commander card for my pick of the week.
Goodness gracious.
Something I never do. It is Gorion Wise Mentor from Baldur's Gate. A
I've never heard
Bant
of
legend. Whenever you cast an adventure spell, you copy it, I believe. Make sure I'm right on that.
Yeah, I typed the card. I guessed the spelling and I was right. So
Yeah.
My next question: why?
We have an adventure card spoiled for Wilds of Eldraine. A single one. It is in blue-black, so it wouldn't be playable in this deck. But if there are adventures, this is probably this card can't be reprinted into the pre-con because it's a named character from Baldur's Gate.
Mm-hmm.
It could be on the list, which would be dangerous. But if it's not on the list, this is like a pretty good legend for an adventure deck. Like, it's a very powerful effect, and in the colors that adventures traditionally are. And the card's a bulk rare basically right now, so you grab a bunch of them on the cheap, throw them in a box, and then hope you remember they exist when it goes up to $2 if there's a bunch of adventures.
I mean,
If it does.
I'm not saying it's. So there's a lot of supply for this set, but this is as bulk rare a bulk rare can be. You can literally get these on TCG Player for 8 cents. I mean, not counting shipping, etc. But like, if you have a direct package waiting to go and it's already above a free shipping threshold, you can just get these for true bulk rare prices. Which it's hard to do worse than that if you just want to play a little penny stock.
Yeah, I just don't know how much. I really don't like thinking about how much EDH demand is going to affect cards printed in like the last 2 years. It almost doesn't matter. There's so much supply now, but I think it can definitely go up from. It can stay under $1 and you still make a bunch of money.
It is impossible to lose on this card. I will say that because it is at true bulk prices. You can get them for
If you're buying them from
literal
8 cents
nickel
each and it's
right
a quarter on a buy list, you tripled up. Congrats.
Right. It's also like the only card that references adventures that's possible to make money on. I think everything else is just like too likely to be in a pre-con.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a great call. I said that my pick of the week was predicated on something different, and then I found something predicated on the new Doctor. So let's do a bonus this week. Using the tool from MTGstocks, if you didn't read the article, you should. But if you didn't, you should. But if you didn't, the Ugin's Fate Grim Haruspex looks really good. Real low supply. And it's way more expensive on TCG Player than it is on Card Kingdom, where they have a very few reasonably priced copies left. I think it's just so low supply that it's due to be repriced. Grim Haruspex is played in like something like 85,000 decks in the EDH Rec database, which, you know, the raw number doesn't mean that much, but when it's that high, it's played a lot. There's demand, and Ugin's Fate stuff, you know, super rare, and this is super cheap for a playable card. So that is like, let's call that my bonus pick of the week. My spreadsheet pick of the week is Omniscience. It is at a historic low. It's under $8 right now for some like M19 copies of Omniscience. If you can get this card under $8, all the Doctor Who decks are going to want to run this. They're all going to be blue. They're all going to do both. Omniscience is already played a ton in the one deck that people are building. The 10th Doctor was revealed, so people have already started building 10th Doctor decks, and everybody's playing Omniscience. Bullshit. You can get an $8 Omniscience. Why would you not? It's never been cheaper, and it's never been better. It's a very good card. Put it in your shopping cart.
I love Omniscience just like as a card. If you just want to make a deck a little bit more powerful in a way that isn't totally backbreaking for everybody. Like, if you play your 10-mana thing and win the game, it's fine. Mm-hmm. To me, it's like the quintessential, I want something big and flashy and dumb for my, 75% deck or whatever.
It's also brickable, which I think is a good sign of a game-winning card. Like, you can brick with this. You can just have Omniscience and have nothing. That can happen, and then that becomes a really interesting game of tension of, will they draw the thing that gets them the thing to do all the things while everyone else is trying to catch up and kill you. It, like, playing an Omniscience and saying, go, makes a very fun Commander game.
Yeah. Yeah, that's based on Doctor Who stuff. See,
You're saying Doctor Who is based?
Based Doctor Who stuff. That's right. It's the best show of all timey-wimey. I know, right? I felt a little...
All right. That was a podcast.
We did it.
I want to say a big thank you to all of our listeners and viewers and consumers of our content that we work so hard to create. Thanks for listening to Brainstorm Brewery. We'll see you next week.
And Corbin may or may not... We're going to try to do like a seance thing. It'll be a whole... We're going to try to get Corbin back for those who care. We're going to lock him behind the $50 Patreon tier because just like talking to the dead is very profitable. So we'll figure out like a seance situation and we'll all become mediums and charge you extra for it.